one thing I campaigned on was that it's unconscionable that higher education has gotten 2.5 times more expensive over the last number of years. And one of the jokes I used to pose was like, has it gotten 2.5 times better? And that always got a laugh because people were like, it has not really gotten 2.5 times better.
Nope.
And then I posed the question to the folks in the audience and was like, hey, why has it gotten so expensive? And then they think about it for a minute. And then I say, did we hire lots of professors? And they're like, no. Did we build lots of new buildings? And they were like, maybe. And then I say that the real driver is the fact that we've hired 150% more non-faculty administrators at these universities. They've become these like overgrown bureaucracies themselves, and it's become this hidden tax on people, on the middle class, on folks who are trying to give their kids a better life. And that's been building up for decades, in part because any college every year just looks around and says, okay, how much are we going to increase our prices by this year? And so you have this inflationary effect that's unique to healthcare and education. And then families felt like they had no choice but to pay. So then the government said, don't worry about it. We've got you. Here's some loans. So we're now up to 1.6 trillion in student loan debt. And I love the fact that you work for NYU, but you're honest about the fact that, look, these university administrators have very clear financial incentives. Like foregoing $400 million in tuition is like, it would wreck many of these institutions. And so you have many schools that are bravely putting up signals saying, well, hey, we're going to reconvene in the fall. And then you look at it and say, like, is this what you would do if this wasn't like an existential problem for your school to forego tuition revenue for a semester? And I would love to hear your ideas on how we can somehow help the university system become more cost conscious and invest in things that'll actually improve kids' educational outcomes as opposed to their U.S. News and World Report rankings.
Yeah, we are definitely brothers from another mother. I mean, your summary, it took me 2 years to get to the summary you just articulated in about 3 minutes. But look, we live in a capitalist society, and having more money means more opportunity for your kids, access to better health care, access to a broader selection of mates. It's just a wonderful thing to have more versus less money in a capitalist society. And all of us fall victim to that in the sense that when you're first and foremost going to fix your own oxygen mask. And there's a belief that universities are these very noble institutions where we wear cardigans, watch PBS, and pet our Labrador and don't think about money. And professors and administrators want the same economic security as everyone else. So by a combination of this dictum or this gestalt where everybody has to get a college education, where we constrain supply and become luxury brands as opposed to public servants, we consistently have been able to raise prices through this kind of cartel, as you mentioned, twice as fast as inflation. And we justify that we're doing it for the right reasons, but the reality is many universities, especially elite universities, have become hedge funds that provide classes to the children of their investors, and then we wipe Vaseline over the lens of the caste structure that higher education has become by letting in some freakishly remarkable middle class and lower income kids, and to try and make ourselves kind of the neosporin of our guilt. It's morally corrupt, and the spring used to be a time of nervousness but excitement about where your kid was going to college. Now it's become despair and anxiety around how do I tell my little girl that on a fireman's salary, and maybe my wife is a doctor or nurse, that we can't afford to send her to Tulane. How do you have that conversation? How do you feel like you're failing the American dream because you can't afford to, after working your ass off, 2 income, you can't afford to send, or you make a worse decision, and that is your kid doesn't get into the top school because they take pride in rejecting 9 out of 10 applicants. And worse yet, they go to a second-tier school where they don't get nearly the upside because corporations still look at those universities in terms of evaluating your currency in the marketplace and how much they're going to pay you, but you incur elite university-level debt. This is one of the most, in my opinion, ugly parts of our society right now, and it's happened incrementally because, like anyone else, university administrators and professors want to live the same great life as anyone else. What do we do about it? I've been spending a lot of time with Chancellor Block, who is the chancellor of my alma mater that receives more applications than any university in the world, and that's the University of California, Los Angeles. And I've come to the conclusion that these institutions are almost constitutionally incapable of cutting costs. Between tenure, between the Rolexification of their facilities, it is very hard for them, and they haven't had to cut costs for 40 years. It's almost impossible. What we could do is, through a mix of small and big tech, potentially dramatically expand capacity. If you were to take 50% of your courses online, and there are a lot of courses that would be fine online, or a lot of sessions where there isn't a lot of interaction that you could facilitate online. If you take half your classes online, you effectively, Andrew, double the size of the campus. So what I would like to see, and what I would hope individuals like you that might serve in a cabinet or be in a position of authority and power someday, is could we have some sort of grand bargain where we go to governors? Let's go to Governor Newsom and say, increase the University of California budget by 20%, and we're going to dramatically decrease the cost per student educated through the use of small and big tech by expanding our capacity. And we're going to take UCLA back from a 13% admit rate to where it was in the 90s, 20 or 25. We have to dramatically expand our land-grant public universities' capacity such that we can take good, maybe not remarkable. I don't know where you went to school. I was a remarkably unremarkable kid. And the reason I'm here speaking to you today is because UCLA let in a third of its applicants. And they could say to the son of a single immigrant mother who lived and died as secretary, let's be honest, you're not great, but we like your profile. You're a son of California. We're going to let you in. They don't have the luxury of doing that now. They don't have the luxury of letting in kids with remarkable futures. They have to only let in the remarkable. So I think it's about dramatically expanding through the use of technology, freshman seats, and also breaking this wheel where academics and administrators have become drunk on exclusivity. Andrew, every year the deans of the top schools, including mine, get up and boast that we rejected 88% of our applicants. That's tantamount to the head of a housing shelter bragging that he or she turned away 9 in 10 people who showed up last night. We have lost the script. We need to move back to being public servants as opposed to luxury brands, and we need to embrace technology and have almost like a Marshall Act-like feel such that we take capacity for our great public systems, University of Texas, Michigan, University of California, Cal State, CUNY, Florida state systems, and expand their seats by 30 or 50%. I think a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. I think there's an opportunity here to move back to where we were, where kids who are unremarkable have remarkable opportunities through the upward lubricant that is higher ed.
Like we need to examine this from soup to nuts. Like you look at it and say, okay, why is it 4 years? Why does it cost this much? And to your point, like, why are you getting rewarded for turning people down? Like, aren't you supposed to be a public good? I love the fact that you've identified public universities as the place to launch this from, because it makes the most sense. And they should be growing their seats. Like, instead of a proportion of people you reject, it should be looking up society-wide and saying, okay, how many 18-year-olds do we think are like approximately the right fit for what we're going for in terms of a public education? And then you should be rewarded for educating a higher proportion of those people, which is like the reverse of the way they get rewarded now.
Yeah,
if I'm in position to do this, man, I'm 100% going to do it.
You're in because look, it comes down to a basic theme and a shift in mindset, and that is the worth of a society isn't the opportunities it offers its remarkable. It feels to me like the United States, and I'm curious to get has moved from how do we give our truly remarkable being people who are born with tremendous opportunities and also are tremendously skilled. You know, everyone says NYU is a place for rich kids. Yeah, but it's also rich kids who are super impressive. They're remarkable. Do we just continue to funnel more and more of the spoils to that small segment who are both blessed because they're born into wealth and be very good, remarkable? Or isn't the judge of a society or the worth of a society what kind of opportunities it gives to its unremarkable? What kind of opportunities it gives to the kid who maybe doesn't have access to the test prep that you are offering, who maybe has had challenges at home, who maybe doesn't, at the age of 15, doesn't have a patent and isn't building wells in Africa and isn't captain of the lacrosse team. I mean, the kids that now get into these schools, we're basically saying that the two cohorts that are going to divide the spoils of American productivity, wages have not gone up, productivity skyrocketed, that's trillions of dollars in surplus wealth. That all goes to two cohorts. That's the children of rich kids or people who are freakishly remarkable between the ages of 15 and 17 who get into Harvard. We talk about these elite schools. The reason I talk about the state schools is the Ivies are more spectacle than historic. They have 64,000 total students. Ohio State has 55,000. Florida State has 75,000. Berkeley will graduate more kids from low-income household this year than the entire Ivy League combined. So the Ivy League, look, fine. You're great leaders, produce leaders, children of rich kids, remarkable kids from middle and lower income households. But where America changes, where America fundamentally changes, is these land-grant public schools that educate two-thirds of our students. And we're going to need some sort of real dramatic rethinking. I think this is your platform. I think UBI and education, I think these are the two legs of the stool. I don't know what the third one is, Andrew, for your next run.
You'd have to say healthcare. You'd have to say health, because healthcare has some of the similar problems. Thank you for listening in. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you did, please do subscribe to Yang Speaks and click on notifications so we can let you know every time we have a new episode.